I call him the bush philosopher. He doesn't know that yet. But he is a genuine outback, whether he's running cattle or camels, I'm not really sure. But I said I'd ring him about 10 o'clock. So we'll put a call in to Jack Comedy, Outback Jack, the bush philosopher. See if he's going to pick up and talk to us.
Well, you want him to ring him?
Oh, yeah.
It's not 10 o'clock yet.
Doesn't matter, ring him.
Well,
Ring him.
He's very pedantic this morning, Mr. Denton.
No, Tony Denton is a Virgo of the quintessential nature. Okay. Absolutely precise. Are you there, Jack?
Yeah, I've got you, Jeremy.
How are you?
Oh, doing well. Just loaded a whole load of cattle. So
you are
good start to the day.
You are genuinely a cattleman.
Yes.
How did you get to become the outback bush philosopher?
Well, look, an interesting, turn of events. A little bit of a challenge from my cousin who had started a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of anything you can do. Surely I can do better.
Yeah.
So a bit of friendly banter, and I got cracking on doing a YouTube channel, and exploring the challenges and joys of everything that we deal with out here. And there's actually a surprisingly amount of political influence and interference with agriculture. And I notice more and more that, well, it's not just agriculture, it's just about every single bit of private life any Australian has.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, you are very, very good. I don't know whether you sort of stand up there in front of the camera and you've got an auto cue or you are doing it from the heart. You have a script. I don't know. How do you write all these ideas that you come up with? Are they straight from the heart and the head, or what?
Look, if it came straight from the heart and the head, I'd occasionally lose track of where I am. So I do have to write some notes down so I can keep going. But it's also occasionally in the middle of the night you wake up and go, hang on a second, I should really talk about this. And on the idea of, you saying that I'm really good, well, comes to a smile. I've got a tattoo down my forearm, which is the first one I got. And it's in reference to being told when I was younger, you've got the immense capacity to be very, very good or very, very bad. And so from there, I decided that I'd run with Nasade Malay, which is, has no malice. So try to do everything with a little bit of good.
Yeah. Where do you get this sort of come from, sitting around the dining room table and arguing with your mother and father? How old are you, by the way?
I am 34.
You're 34?
Yes.
Oh. Okay.
Yes.
You I don't know how to describe your philosophy. I like it. It's common sense. It's basics and common sense. What sort of a following have you got?
And yes, the common sense and the basics, that comes back to a lot of things where it's do the simple things well. And you do that with work and everything that we do, and then you start expanding that and you look at politics and go, well, they're not doing the simple things well. They're losing track. So let's speak up about it.
Yeah, well, let's get stuck into it. What is their main sin? What is their main problem?
Well, it's a difficult one, but I could start with the people themselves, like everyday Australians, and realistically, it's sort of we're not getting involved enough in our political discourse, and people are just keeping their heads down and just she'll be right. But I think people seem to forget that we have very few fundamental rights in our constitution, but one of those is a constitutional right, a direct right to vote for individual representatives, not parties. So people seem to get caught up in we'll vote for red, blue, green, light blue, and not actually know who they are voting for, what the person's core is, what their belief is, because really they're meant to be a representative for us, of us, and we would want someone who shares our values, beliefs, and attitudes to be representing us, not a puppet, really, a puppet to a party.
Yeah,
So
right.
that's where I think one of our biggest flaws is. But it's this idea that people believe the government is ruling us, but they should be, doing what's in the interest of us as a nation. It's our will is what the government is supposed to do.
I guess, Jack, if you're in a regional rural electorate, your elected representative is actually more true to your needs than a city representative is. Where the city reps seem to get very involved in the party politics, but the regional people seem to understand the daily activities and lives of their constituents. Would that be the way you read it too?
Well, that would be fair, and in some regards, and we know that we have electoral boundaries, and so for us in the lower house, we've got your regions and those representatives. However, there's less than 10 electorates outside of the Perth CBD for us, and that means that you've got less than 10 seats that can actually represent your regions. And we recently had a electoral change that now our upper house doesn't have regional representation. It's now just one ballot. It's not for any regions. So now it can just be stacked in favour of whomever wants to be in power. So then there's no power in the upper house. And so regional areas have absolutely copped a raw deal out of this entire thing. But I smile at the entire situation where local governments and regional people turn to the West Australian government and say, hey, look, this is really not fair. Like, we are the areas that the wealth of the state is coming from, but we get nothing. We get no roads, we get no hospitals, we have poor services. This is a joke. We should get something fair. And they go, well, no, sorry, Perth is the main economic hub. This is where the main populace is. We've got to make sure we look after the populace. So no, you're not going to get as much funding as the city. And the regional people go, oh, that's a pretty poor deal. And then we look at it at a national level where West Australia and the same politicians that were telling the regional people, nah, sorry, the population's here, we've got to support the population. Those exact same politicians go to Canberra and cry poor, saying, hey, WA's where 70% of the GDP comes from. We're making the money. We should get more of the resources and the money back to us. The GST always comes up. And, we deserve that because we're the ones making it. And the federal government goes, well, hang on, the population's over here and we've got to support the population. And so really the state government gets exactly what they deserve because that's how they treat their people and, do unto others. It's
quite a piece of logic you got there. The very argument they use against you, Canberra uses against them. Wonderful.
It's just nice to see it.
There have always been rumours about Western Australia, seceding from the Commonwealth for the very reasons you've just outlined. Do you think that's a possibility, a reality?
Well, I really like the idea when we start talking about secession, where it goes through a referendum, but not all states and territories actually get to vote in it. And this is going off memory. I believe that the Northern Territory, Queensland and Tasmania don't actually get to vote in a referendum to do with secession. So if Queensland wanted to secede, they actually aren't allowed to vote in that election. So if we were going to do something like secession, I'd say something like, let's just draw the line. I'll take Queensland, South Oz, Territory and WA and we'll see how well it goes for Sydney. But really, I think the better option would be for Western Australia to split into two.
Yeah, how would that work?
Well, we could always use one of our tax lines, which is the 26th parallel.
Yeah.
Just draw the line across there. I mean, we've got different tax laws north and south of that, so why not make it a whole load of different laws? The northern people have different needs and requirements to the southern areas, and maybe it'd make the city folk, Perth centric, actually consider the wealth that actually comes from the Kimberley and Pilbara.
Yeah, that could make them sit up and take notice. The sums are compelling. Yeah. Are you old enough to remember Prince Leonard of Hutt River?
Yes, I am, and it's a dangerous path to go down. That topic, as we know and we've seen in recent times, with certain names being thrown around and people, doing bad things, and it's almost one of those dangerous subjects to talk about, but we should talk about it.
Yeah, well, he I don't know, it was something about tax, and he just simply refused to pay his tax. And I talked to him a few times. I found him very interesting. He dug his heels in and he stuck to his guns, and while they, that is the establishment or the taxation department, didn't really like what was going on, they didn't do anything about it.
I guess
it wasn't a big enough problem.
I guess, Jack, it's that question of which perplexes people because it's not a widely spoken about subject, the sovereign citizen subject, which is the issue back in Victoria you've alluded to. But there are people, a cohort of people who believe that there's an illegitimacy about taxation and government rule, the Constitution and referenda. Have you got any comments about that?
Look, I think that the bigger issue we actually have is that Australia has lost its sovereignty itself. We are no longer a nation that gets to decide what we do and what we're committed to. We have so many things imposed on us, and that's by some of, we call it the colonial powers of the I call it the United Nations and the EU.
Yeah.
With hitting us with things like, you've got not enough people to have the emissions that you do. So the answer is you take the people we don't want. So then you're going to be on parity for your environmental commitments. But all that's done is that has forced us to stop developing our nation. We stopped developing in the 80s. Now it's a fallacy to say Australia is a developed nation. We do not have anything amazing being built infrastructure-wise. We look at projects like the Kalgoorlie pipeline, which was called impossible, madness, and you can't ever do it, and it got done. And that made it so Kalgoorlie, the Golden City, could develop, and it opened up that entire centre. Now, we built massive train lines across the entire country. We got all of this achieved, and then we just stopped. And now we've got fresh water running into the ocean by the billions of litres. Up in the northern part of Western Australia, we've got fresh water enough to fill Sydney Harbour twice running into the ocean. But you're not allowed to touch it because, that could cause an imbalance in the ocean salinity. But you go to the city and they're desalinating water, pumping hypersaline concentrate back into the ocean, and that's having an impact on the marine life because it's disturbing the equilibrium, but it's for the city. And this entire idea that you can't manipulate and edit the environment to create prosperity is a bit of a joke when you've got a city called Canberra where it is completely and utterly a artificial area. So you're aware of the story behind Lake Burley Griffin?
No, not exactly. What was the story?
Well, it is an artificial lake,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it was made in 1960s by damming one of the rivers.
Yeah.
And effectively, Canberra was a dairy farm. It got bought. It was, yeah, this is the place, but it doesn't look nice. So what we should do is we'll dam this off so that we've got more water, and we'll turn it into the visual centerpiece. And it's going to be symbolic and recreational. It's not for anything industrial. It's not for agriculture. It's not
Yep.
a water supply for the city or anything. It
Yep.
is genuinely just to be pretty. Now, they did that for no practical purpose. But when people come up with ideas, and they've been around since the early 20s, running the ore down into the centre of Western Australia, opening it up, having fresh water, creating little agricultural areas, doing the line down into Lake Eyre to make that be full year round. These things have real economic impacts.
Yeah, and if you were to convert Lake Eyre into a sea, an ocean, you would be changing the climate of the whole country.
You would increase the rainfall in the centre, whether
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
salt water or fresh water.
Yep.
It would be good. You know,
It
bring
would be
water,
good.
bring life.
You see, we had people going back. Macquarie was one. Macquarie was a builder. Macquarie built things. He was the governor of New South Wales. Over there in the west, Lang Hancock. I used to talk to him. He was an amazing man. There was nothing he couldn't do. He was a man with a vision and determination and the energy to get things done. Where are those people? Where are they now?
Yeah. Well, we're lost. We've lost some of those good minds and these great ideas because they get shut down at every corner by red, black, and green tape.
Yep. Do you see any way around it? Any means to fix the block in the S Bend?
Yeah, we need to really change our representatives and increase the education of our populace to say, look, you don't have to be saying shut the gates, let no one else in. We have to build the nation. The people are already coming. We're a nation which only had a good sprint to develop itself before being elevated into being named a first world country. We had less time than any of these other powers to get ourselves up to that standard. We did a very good job. We're a nation that people came to and were sent to in chains, and now people from around the world are coming to Australia to be free. And we have to be proud of that fact, that we've gone from that to a point where people want to come. So it's not a case of build it and they'll come. We've built it, but we stopped building it.
Well, the interesting issue about that, Jack, is that we haven't stopped building. It's just what we're doing isn't necessarily the optimum way of doing things. Now, for example, we're spending trillions of dollars on renewable energy. So there's a lot being built, wind farms, solar farms, all the infrastructure on people's rooftops, you name it, electric cars. Things have changed. We've moved on. The question that we always have at the dining room table is, are we making the right moves? Was it the right move to get rid of the Australian automobile industry? Was it the right move to be changing agriculture the way we have? Is it the right move to complicate taxation? Is it the right move for a whole range of different issues?
Is it the right move to find a country where 54% of the population either works for the government or is on some sort of government welfare, some sort of pension? I reckon we're an able-bodied country. We can do stuff.
And look, many people now are protesting around Australia about the levels of immigration. It's not about racism. It's the levels of immigration to match our existing infrastructure. And that leads me to the question that people like yourself who are prepared to stand up and talk. How do we actually get into people's minds so that they're not apathetic and not prepared to be part of the solution for the future, their own future? by actually being more active in, investing in their future.
But, Jack, we've got a whole population of people who are prepared to listen to this net zero stuff and bankrupt the country, send people bankrupt, send jobs to the wall. And they're doing it without question, for no reason, no purpose. We can't save the world because we're not creating the problem that apparently the world is creating, that is global warming or whatever the hell they say it is. We account for 1% of global emissions. It doesn't matter what we do in this country. Why would we let a government send us broke to turn 1 into a 0? Why? And yet the population seem to be buying it. They're swallowing it.
Now, that brings up a word which I believe so many people don't understand, and that is the word sustainability. Now, sustainability needs to be economic. It's the basis of it. If you can't do something economically, well, you don't do it. So you, as a business, look at the government as a business and go, okay, we're going to be doing this thing that's going to hamstring us. It's going to cost us a lot of money. Is it actually worth it?
Is it worth it? Yeah.
And it's not. It's sustainability is, call it the goal. Australia has been a nation about sustainability, being able to sustain a population, making sure that people are alive, making sure we've got food and water. So we need to come back to and just ask them, is it sustainable to be spending this much money on renewable energies at the detriment of our nation? And the answer being, oh, well, we'll just tax you more rather than using the natural wealth of our country appropriately. If we looked at the government as salespeople, they're our salesmen to the world, they're representatives. The government is supposed to be there to facilitate business and development and provide some services which are essential. And we would just need to look at them and go, well, hang on, you're fired. Like, outright. You're giving away our product for nothing to benefit our nation.
You're
the politician is benefiting themselves.
You're correct.
And we'd call that insider trading.
You're correct in what you're saying, Jack, but the mechanism to actually activate what you're saying, I mean, we have a situation in Australia now where the Prime Minister, Bowen, and these people, it doesn't matter what anyone says, what data they put up, they are just hell-bent on doing what they're doing. We don't have a Liberal Party opposition that's making. In fact, the Liberal Party is all at sea with this. They can't enunciate a philosophy or a policy. They're bickering, infighting. I mean, the only people left to do something about all this is people out in the street. But how do you get the people out in the street to actually, scratch their scone and say, well, we need to do something. Let's get rid of this mob. How do we do it, Jack?
Well, not only didn't we get rid of them, they got elected with an increased majority.
And they'll be there for another 1 or 2 terms at least.
And you know why? Because they're disciplined, very disciplined politicians. The Liberals are not. They're arguing with themselves. Yeah. Oh, God.
So what do we do, Jack? What do we do?
Look, we've got the Liberal Party who lacks conviction. Now, it's become a massive issue, and this is part to do with the media, the media game and sales. And so the Liberal Party will say something, deliver a policy, they'll cop a little bit of criticism, and then they'll backflip on it, and they'll change. And then they come up with something else, they backflip, they continue doing it. They're like a damn gymnast. Now, that leads to people not trusting them because, well, they're going to change their mind. They don't know what they're doing. They haven't got a clear set of goals. We don't know which direction they're actually going in. And if they just said it and stuck by it, that would lead people to actually trust them more. And that's their fundamental problem. They've sort of lost the plot. We've got another party who is, look, if you go against us, you're out. We're going to say this, we're going to do it, we're on. This is the party line. And I think we are seeing that people want change. people are waking up a bit more to, hang on a second, we have a responsibility here, and people are slowly realizing that your political will, your role in politics doesn't end when the vote is finished being counted. The only issue we have is the politicians aren't listening to us. Our representatives don't listen. We've got politicians here in Western Australia who won't respond to an email, a phone call, or anything from their constituents. Now, that's a shame. That is a disappointment, because I fall back to that constitutional right. The one of 5 things that we actually have as a right is to select our politicians as a person. And you should be able to talk to a person. We should be able to have a conversation. I think arguments are actually one of the best forms of communication, because you listen, you respond, and you walk away, and your ideas should be challenged, and you should have a slightly different perspective. The entire point is to have a conversation with someone, see things from their point of view, hear their points, their aspect, and develop a solution that works for everyone. But now we've got it where this is the solution, it's the only solution, and we end up with policies coming before Parliament that half of the people in there will vote against just because it was the other guys that came up with it. But it was a good idea, and it was going to be good for the nation and good for the people, but we're going to say no to it just because you're red or you're blue. And that is the problem we have.
Do you have any political heroes?
Oh, I've got to say that there's political inspiration and people that I respect. And I guess if you say political heroes, I actually have to go across the sea and look at JFK.
Yeah,
But
no, I agree with that. That's a good one.
It was interesting. During the week, Professor Ian Plimer made the comment about the way our politics in Australia is going, and he likened it to other countries where he believes Australia is becoming more and more totalitarian. In other words, the government has its way and isn't prepared to listen to anyone and wants to stifle free speech.
Yeah.
Well, I would say that yes, we are getting to a point where we're seeing these misinformation bills. We're seeing entire shutdown of the Freedom of Information Act. Like, we've got the most secretive government we've ever had, and it's because people want to know the truth behind the decisions. And we've got a government who's saying, no, sorry, that's confidential. Sorry, mate, no, you can't look at it.
And we've got a population who swallowed that, and instead of being outraged, I mean, what's wrong with us? We're so compliant.
Apathetic we are.
Apathetic.
Yeah.
We just go along with it. The government, they know best. Well, they don't. 9 times out of 10. They may know what's best for them, but... Yeah.
But even when governments blatantly lie, I mean, we've spent a bit of time this morning talking about energy costs, and we were meant to get a rebate from the government. We never did, despite the fact that hundreds of times live to air they told us we were going to get this money. We're still waiting, and we're still waiting for energy to be cheaper, and that'll never happen.
Just lie, and keep lying.
But they get away with it.
Yeah, they do, and get re-elected with an increased majority.
Yeah.
Why the hell do we need a rebate? Why do we need to subsidise something if it's good for adoption? When you're subsidising something, it is purely to increase the adoption and to get people to go, oh, hang on, yes, it's to breach the unknown, to go to people, hey, look, put your rooftop solar on and it's going to cut your energy bills.
Yeah.
And it was to encourage people to take that risk and put it on there, and then it should have stopped. And if you continue to subsidise an industry in that manner, well, hell, it's not going to work and it's not going to progress it, like the environment. Why are we subsidising small things like this when we are, again, selling at wholesale prices our nation's resources, then we buy it back at retail? Again, that's like JFK said, farmers are the only ones that sell at wholesale, buy at retail. And Australia has ended up in a position where we are doing that en masse at an entire aspect.
Yeah.
We sell our iron ore. We don't even make it here. we sell our oil, we sell our gas, we buy it back at a higher price. Why?
Because we're dumb. They wouldn't subsidise the motor car industry, yet that employed thousands and thousands of people. Yet if you took all the subsidies that the renewables, in inverted commas, get lavished with, nobody would touch them with a 40-foot barge pole.
Well, the only way the renewables program works is through subsidies.
Well, subsidies and rebates, you're creating a totally artificial situation.
I mean, the public has been totally blindsided and totally ignorant and totally apathetic to recognising that there's only one group of people in the community who are paying for all this, and that's the public, but through energy prices. Instead of having the most affordable electricity on the planet, we've got the most expensive.
Well, Jack, when are you going into politics? Or are you going into politics?
Look, I've run twice. I've run for the lower house and I've run for the upper house in state.
And you didn't win?
No, I didn't. I could have done a lot more to get out there and about, but it's a little challenging when realistically the media only presents, two options to everybody.
Yeah.
And they'll vote for the less bad.
Were you running as an independent?
Option. No, I was running with a party. I was running with the Shooters, Fishers and Farmers Party.
Oh,
They had approached me and they said, hey, look, we reckon you'd be a good fit, a good candidate, and, do you want to have a run? Now, the biggest smile I have, and this is in the post our state election here, is that I'm not going to mention which parties, but I have been approached by, you'd call them two major parties, and they said, if you'd run for us, we didn't know you were running. If you'd run for us, we would have done a lot better. And you sit there and go, well, that's nice after the fact. And I sit there and go, well, would I just be being used and end up, hamstrung and being a mushroom that I can only do what they have told me? Like I want to be the dog that's been let off the leash to use my free will and say what the people really want to have imparted.
Well, you'll get there. Yeah. I know you'll get there because I've watched these. Now, how do people find you? I'm not even sure. No, I know.
They do say, Jack, third time lucky in politics. So go for it.
I'm trying to think of who sent me your podcast or a link to it, but that doesn't matter. How do people get to look at the stuff you do?
You genuinely just Google Jack out the back.
Jack out the back.
Yep.
Okay.
And I'll pop out. You'll see a lot of things which some people have said, oh, that's going to make you unelectable to 99% of the population. And you'll be surprised.
No, I disagree. I disagree.
Yeah.
You do a lot of common sense, and people don't respond to common sense. There's no hope for any of us.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that feel as if they aren't being heard, and there's a lot of people out there that are scared about standing up because it'll paint a target on their back. That they're going to have some sort of investigation into them and end up being harassed left, right and centre.
Oh, well, your whole your private life will be scrutinised, and if they can find something that's negative, they'll run with that. Are you married?
Yes, I am married and I have 3 lovely children.
Uh-huh. And you're full-time on the farm?
Yes, so we've got a property which is just about smack bang the centre of Western Australia.
How big is it?
1 million acres.
My God.
So
I mean, look, you could secede yourself. That's enough. You could do that.
But how would that benefit the people?
Well, I like your attitude. That's a benevolent, lovely thing to say, but I don't know. There's a time, when you have to abandon ship if it keeps on going the way it's going.
Look, there's hope yet.
Anyway, let's keep in touch, Jack. You just be satisfied that you are garnering a following.
Yeah, and that's good. And I think in closing as a statement, I guess I could say that the apathy of Australians is often abused, and you look around at Australians when we travel, when we're overseas, and we are calm. We're placid. We're pretty chilled. It takes a lot to annoy an Australian.
Yeah.
But then when an Australian is annoyed, you watch out. And we've got Australians now who are getting annoyed, and we need to make sure that that's managed in a respectful manner
Yep.
that allows people to feel heard and is safe. And we just need to, I'm going to say the thing, that we play the game like gentlemen. We make sure that we can hold our heads up high and say we're proud of the way that we did things. And we've achieved the result without resorting to other means which are not as nice. So, yeah.
My statistician just did a quick calculation, and he said that's about 1,500 square miles of property. You must do a pretty good barbecue, Jack.
It's a hell of a lawn. If you have to mow it, that's a hell of a lawn.
A few weeds to pull.
Look, it's six times Singapore. What is 1.3 Luxembourg's? Bigger than Sydney. It's
wow. What do you call the farm? What are your station? What do you call it?
So this is Prenti Downs.
What is it?
Prenti Downs. Prenti.
Oh, Prenti Downs. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
How many head of cattle have you got running there?
Around 3,500 head at the moment.
Well, they have a very nice life, I'm sure. Jack, look after yourself. We'll keep in touch. I will now call you not Jack Out the Back, but I will call you the bush philosopher. All right?
You're setting a high bar.
Take care of yourself.
You too. Cheers.
Jack Comedy is his name.